Hey, so I just had a question. Well, two really. Um, how how difficult is the process of getting? Because I'm assuming you get all the licenses for the equipment, that you put in the game. Is
Yeah.
that process extremely difficult, or are they sort of set up for that at this point?
Uh, it depends. Um, we've been through quite well actually since the introduction of the first licensors. We were in Construction Simulator 2014, I think, in the first mobile version. We added Liebherr, MAN, and Still for the forklift. I think these three were the first ones to be introduced to the Construction Simulator series. Um, we let me think about it. I think I made the contact to MIN. It was more or less knowing someone who knows someone, get in contact with some guys from the PR and marketing from MIN, talked to them and said, "We are doing a construction simulator game. We want your brand on the game. Would this be possible?" And they said, "Yes, why not? Looks promising. We're looking forward to that." And since then, we had quite a good relationship with them and kept them. And with Liebherr, I don't know, I think Dirk, one of the CEOs back then, made the first contact to Liebherr. I'm not remembering it very clearly, but there have been quite some stories on how to get, especially on some of the bigger ones. I had a neighbor working for Caterpillar in Germany, and he said, "Yeah, I saw that you make this cool construction game, and I think we were some day we were barbecuing or something like that, and I told him a little bit about what we are doing and that we are making a construction simulator game, and he was saying, "Oh yes, I worked." I think a year before, he worked for Caterpillar, and he's still knowing some guys from then. And he well directed me to another guy from Caterpillar in Switzerland, where the global PR and marketing guys are located. And I had a phone call with them, or with one guy. It was really I never thought that there would be something coming out of this effort. But I told him about the game, and it would be cool to have him to have Caterpillar on the game and stuff like that. And he said, "Okay, okay, I understand, I understand. Yeah, I'll make some calls and I'll get back to you." And I said, I really thought they would never call me back. But
Wow.
as he said, 2 weeks later, he called me back and said, "Okay, I found the correct guys. Please speak to them. They are located in Peoria, in Illinois, in the US, and they're interested in your game and what you're doing there." And it was quite cool because we had several phone calls with them, and then they set up a small team of really industry guys knowing what all the machines are doing and how they behave and how they look like and what would be cool missions and stuff like that. And so yeah, we got Caterpillar into the game, which was quite overwhelming because quite a amount of the development phase, they thought we are developing a Caterpillar app, and they called it like that.
Oh
So
no.
I had repeatedly to state that this is not the Caterpillar app; it's the construction simulator, and they are part of the construction simulator app, but it's not their game. It's not that Caterpillar is paying the bills. It still was Astrogon paying for the development. So
Oh my goodness.
but with these bigger names like Caterpillar and Liebherr, and also some smaller brands from not only Europe but also the US with Kenworth and Mack arriving, the construction simulator series itself got more and more attention, and therefore the first brands came up by themselves and attended for example, at the at the booth at the Gamescom,
Ah,
and asked for what they need to do to get into the construction simulator. So to get new brands into the game is becoming easier with the more well-known brands you have and the more brands at all you have in the game. So it's quite cool. So at the
yeah.
moment, it's easier to get them into the game or to convince them to be part of the game. And in most cases, I don't know, I think in most cases it's more like a they give they give us their good name and their models and their brand, and they get the free marketing. So there's not really any any money involved. But yeah,
That's great.
to be honest, I'm not totally into this process anymore. It's completely handled by Astragon. Meanwhile, I think the first steps I was really yeah using my, let's say, network to get the first brands on board, but now it's more or less completely managed by Astragon, and they're doing very well, not only for Construction Simulator but also for bus and other simulations, and therefore will have their own department only for managing licenses and stuff like that.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. That's interesting because I always thought, how hard would it be for you guys to get your hands on another licensed company? But it seems that they are fighting, they're chomping at the bit to get put into your game now, which is awesome to hear.
Yeah, I think this comes with the size. As at the moment, you realize maybe as a manufacturer of heavy construction machinery, you are there's someone in there's an um, competitor brand in a game,
Yeah,
um, or there are several competitor brands in the game. You of course go there and ask. Not that you are going to, however, be the last one to the party. Uh, you just jump on the train and try to get into the game too, so that there is a more or less equal display of all the cool brands in the world in our game. That is, of course, something which we profit from.
Do you also think that that has a lot to do with one question that a lot of people want is these detachable buckets, these changeable types? We understand that um, as an asset that does take up a lot of room, but does that also affect your licensors if they feel that their machine is being used in a way that's less than what it's worth to a competitor machine? They feel that they don't want to allow people to do that. Here's a good way to put it. With the Liebherr 956 and the Caterpillar 349F, they both have the same bucket size in the game. They cost the same. Everything about them is the same except for like maybe the parts are made out of in the company that builds them. And is that to maintain an even ground with both the licensors who are competitors? And
Exactly.
will that affect any future developments of adding changeable bucket types or hammers, claws, or things like that on future machines in future games?
Um,
Do you think that they would complain that someone's using a different bucket type?
at the beginning of the development, it was really a huge thing for all the brands to be treated equally
Uh
to
huh.
each other, especially in comparison to Caterpillar, which is definitely the number one brand. They all in the first games, 2014 and 15, so the first mobile and the PC version, we only had Liebherr as a big construction machinery brand, which is well known in Germany and maybe in Europe, but not that good in the US and the other parts of the world. But
Yeah.
to be honest, it's in comparison to a Caterpillar, it's a small company, or it's not that big anymore. So they, of course, were uh, afraid of getting, yeah, treated in a
Less than favorable light.
yeah.
Okay.
So they wanted to be treated equally, and therefore we said, okay, we are trying to select models of the different portfolios, which are more or less equal in size and weight and other key features, and therefore, well, let's say, do a little bit of gamification and say that's more or less the same class. You can do the same job with the same machine, especially as we didn't had any other measurements like for instance the I don't know what's the correct word, repairability, is that a word? I don't know.
Oh, the
So
damage that people want on the
Durability.
yeah,
vehicles, yeah.
yeah, something like so. If you're going to have to repair your machinery, I think there are some machines which are well engineered and therefore with exactly these jobs in mind, doing repair jobs on the machinery and stuff like that. This is something which we couldn't display in our game, or the fuel efficiency or something like that, as we
Ah,
don't have any fuel consumption of the machineries. We were in a role where we said, okay, let's treat them all equally. So if we have the excavators you mentioned before, they cost the same, so they do the same job.
okay.
This was totally to the more or less paranoia of the brands, but mm, I think after some years now, the very curious eye of Mordor, no, the very curious eye of the brands are not that strict anymore, or maybe not that
That's good.
exactly watching what we are doing.
Yeah.
So not flying under the radar, but we are definitely a little more confident now, and have their handle and how to compare the machines to each other. With the interchangeable buckets, that's another topic, as we got buckets from the different brands. Some of them have the logos embossed in the thing. So, for example, if you have a bucket with a cat logo on the side or something like that, this is nothing that you want to see on a Leaper
Right.
excavator and other way around. So that's really a huge problem. We
Have
had
a Franken machine.
comparable problems in putting, for instance, a Leaper concrete pump on a Cat CT660 truck.
Oh, you
This
know
was
what?
one.
I
This
remember
was
that.
Yes, this was one of our nearly showstoppers at the release of CS2, Construction Simulator 2, where Leaper said, no, that's a no-go. We don't want Leaper equipment mounted on a cat's truck.
Could you
And therefore we
imagine?
had,
Oh
but
my
we
God.
hadn't any other truck brands back then, and so we had to come up with a neutral one, with a VW Builder truck integrated
Yes,
to
the Weltenbauer builder, yes.
to carry the the concrete pump around. Yeah.
I recall this actually because I remember, and this could also be why, guys, listen, this could also be why they don't give you guys any information that they cannot confirm is official yet, because what happened was this CS2 poster was released that showed all the machines that were going to be in the game. And I remember seeing the
I
Caterpillar
remember that.
CT660 with the Liebherr, I think it was a red cement truck. I can't remember exactly, but it was on the back of this chassis. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. That looks awesome. And then they had an updated poster later on that I actually have in my house that does not have that on there at all.
Yeah.
So from that point on, I think you guys stopped trying to make any
Yeah.
claims that weren't official yet.
Especially if it comes to even more and more an even growing amount of brands which we integrate into our games. It's a lot of management you have to do if you want to release a trailer or just a press release or something like that. It's really hard because you have to get through all these uh, compliance tests and stuff from the different brands, so that they can have a look on it before and approve it. Yeah.
I think I remember we asked this question once in a live stream you guys were hosting, and you had explained to us that the Caterpillar people kept
They were
asking
totally fine with that.
questions. They kept asking questions about why the caterpillar yellow was changing or something because
Ah,
your day and night cycle.
I don't know yeah. Well, well, the construction industry is very, very well. Let's say uh, yellowish,
Yes.
and a lot of brands have that yellow as their brand color, and there's only small nuances between uh, like the cat yellow and the leaper yellow and
Oh, no doubt.
all the others, and therefore they are really insisting on keeping the real colors on the machines. The thing is, we are yeah let's face it, we are a simulation, and since Construction Simulator 2, with a day and night cycle with the changing light, um, so of course the yellows are not always exactly like their CMYK yellows they define for their print stuff and things. And so when we try to get some screenshots approved, or I don't know if it was screenshots or if it was the cover art, the key art itself, or something like that. I think they picked the yellow from the somehow picture itself and said that's not our yellow.
Oh no.
Here are the correct RGB values you have to set for our yellow to be correct. That was quite some discussions we had back then to explain them. Yeah, but you know, if the sun is wandering around and you have it's in the morning it's more reddish and in the evening it's more reddish and at the night it's bluish and at only at 12 in at noon it's the perfect yellow. So please understand that a shadowed cat yellow or shadowed leaper yellow is not your yellow, which you are defining by an RGB value. That's
Interesting.
not going to work. So,
Interesting.
but sooner or later they all accept and understand what the reality in producing games or media products is. So
That's good.
so far they are all quite cool people in the industry, to be
Good.
honest. Yeah.
And segueing from that, do you think from this point that you just made that the people in charge of the licenses of these machines will allow us to do color scheme changes in the future of construction simulator games?
Maybe not on all of them,
Okay.
but I think uh, it should be definitely possible on trucks, uh,
Oh yeah, yeah,
which
for
is
sure.
also equipment, of course, which you can order already in different colors. So it depends, of course, on the color palettes. Maybe there's some restrictions to that, so that you cannot buy whatever MAN truck or a Kenworth or a Mack truck in, let's say, somehow very ugly color, like a crying pink or something like that. But I don't know. This is something which we have to negotiate with them to see what
Oh
they are up
yeah, I
to
don't.
and
Yeah, I don't think we
fine
would
with.
ever
And
have. I guess the mod would have to be communicated or accepted then if someone was putting in crying pig as a skin. But I think one thing you could go around too and say to them if this was ever a conversation that you had with them is just give you guys a RGB. Was it a RGBIV, like a rainbow spectrum color palette that is all official. Let me just put that in quotations. Official Caterpillar color. So official Caterpillar red, official Caterpillar orange, official Caterpillar black, official Caterpillar Liebherr yellows, things like that. That way they can feel a little more at ease that they get to choose what colors we get to put on the vehicles.
yeah, yeah. I think if it comes to the chance to color several machines, it will be limited to some of the models because
Right.
there will be some machines they won't accept in other color schemes than the ones they are originally made in. I think if you are going to in the real world, you are going to Caterpillar and say, build me an excavator and please paint it pink, they will do so if you are
Yeah.
willing to pay for it.
Yep.
But I think in the game, of course, as they see it as a kind of marketing, they want to try to implement this stereotype of this is a cat excavator looking like. It's not pink in the normal form, let's say it like that, in the
Okay.
usually form. So there will be some equipment which will be excluded from coloring, I'm pretty sure, but if there is the chance it might help, yes, or even will be the case that they will tell us the colors which are valid
Okay.
and which ones are not. But we'll see. This is something
Okay.
for later on discussion.
Jimmy Dolly, I'm trying to invite you, buddy, to speak. If you could join in.
Shadow, are you
And then,
fine or you have another question?
Yeah, I had one other question. Um, is it difficult? I've never really done anything with developing or software writing. Is it difficult to know where to stop with developing technologies? Like, you see this new thing that's coming out or this new development that is like, oh, this could be cool for the game. Is it difficult to say, okay, this we have to stop at this generation um, in the development process?
Yeah. Well, you're putting your finger on a thing which is definitely a problem sometimes. Of course, while we are developing the underlying technology of the engine itself, Unity, they are also improving their engine and putting even better features and stuff into their engine and saying, oh, well, have a look, you now get screen space reflections, or you can have another cool effect like depth of field on your camera and stuff like that. And if you put all that into your game, you're always deal at the moment it's put into the engine. You're always running with a, well, let's say first version of an implementation of a feature which is not beta proof. So we stepped into this trap several times, and like you said, it's sometimes it's hard to say, I think we should skip this feature, or I think we should skip this update from the engine um, uh, to work on the stability, on the performance, and to get this thing out of the door. Um, because you always not only hope for that a new feature or a new version of your engine is maybe improving not only the look, but maybe even the performance or the memory management or stuff like that without your without you having to work for it. So you try to get of the new features whatever you can, but as I said, it's a trap. You're always stepping into one of these traps to say, yeah, it's working somehow, but it's not fine, and it's eating up more resources than thought, like a new effect or some kind of thing feature which is improving the quality. But at sometimes it's really hard to say no. But at a point in the development, especially if you are um, yeah, turning into the road to release, and you have to say no and try to uh, get your things together and work everything working without changing the underlying technology. Otherwise, you are, yeah, putting your successful release on a risk and also your complete schedule. But to be honest, it's always good to be not only curious about what's coming up next, what the new features are offering your game and your gameplay, maybe on cool new features you could implement on a new feature Unity is integrating into their engine. I think it's at a certain point after release you have to pick up the threat again. Um, to be able to support your game over several years. Because if you stop to update the underlying technology, will at some point be not able to update the game itself or put new content into it without updating a lot of other stuff, which then gets at some point not worth the work or the effort anymore, and then the product is going to die, or you'll have to do a new one. This is something which we also learn from not only by ourselves, but I think other games struggle on this too. They have a quite old technology base, and now they are struggling on putting their game onto, for example, the new consoles like the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, because they didn't update it their base game on the on a daily basis, or not a daily basis, but on a regular basis. So it's there are two sides. You have to consider which way, and which strategy you want to follow with your game. But yeah, so short before release, you should definitely try to say no to upcoming changes on your base technology, and try to get everything fixed and up and running for release. But afterwards, you have to pick up the thread again.
That's a
I hope
great
this
answer.
answers.
That's a great answer, actually. 'Cause we look at games like, what is that, Cyberpunk, and some other ones that were promised great, had a lot of time, new engines or even engines built specifically for that game, and promised too much and poorly delivered. So it's good to know that you guys are not rushing to complete anything. You're just making sure that it's done right the first time, and then continuing to optimize and create more content for it as you go on.
I
Cool.
hope this
Thanks.
strategy works.
All right. Thank you so much, Shadow.